Good morning, everyone. We're going to call the meeting of the Carson City Board of Supervisors and the Liquor and Entertainment Board to order. Today is Thursday, February 1st, 2018. It is 8:30 a.m. We're in the Community Center at the Sierra Room at 851 East William Street, also streaming on the internet this morning. Could we have a roll call, please, for the record? Hi, good morning, Sue. How are you?
Good morning. Supervisor About? Here. Supervisor Bonkowski? Here. Supervisor Bagwell? Here. Supervisor Barrett? Here. Mayor Crow?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. We call on our good friend Bruce Henderson of the Airport Road Church of Christ to get us started. And Bruce, let me say thank you for taking care of all the stuff you do for organizing our invocations throughout the year.
My pleasure. Thank you, sir. Let me start with an announcement that I haven't seen my shadow yet this morning. Oh, wait, that's tomorrow. Oh, we better pray then. Thank you, Father, for a beautiful day. I thank you especially, Father, for the quality of life that you've given us in this amazing city. And I pray a special blessing upon these men and women this day, decisions that are made. And special blessings, Lord, upon all our city employees that keep us going and growing. We give you thanks, and we ask that you bless us in a special way to focus on the positive and on the good, on love and mercy and grace. We thank you. We pray in the name of our Lord. Amen.
States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll now move to item number 5, public comment. This is the time for the public to comment and discuss on any topic that is relevant to or within the authority of this body. We also take public comment where appropriate, and usually is appropriate during each of the agenda items. We'll also take public comment at the end of the meeting today. Anybody? It's kind of a short agenda, so yeah, Bruce. Mr. Scott, come on up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Board of Supervisors. I just wanted to say how impressed I was with the presentation put together for the state of our city. The information, the videos, the inclusiveness, the message, I thought were really, really good. And I think sometimes we get lost in what we don't like or what we don't agree with, what's going wrong here or what should be better there. And I thought it really brought out well what Carson City is doing well, where they're moving, where the challenges are, where the progress has been made. And I would just commend the staff, the folks who work for Carson City, and the board themselves. I thought it was very well done and a great representation of a city that I'm proud to be a part of. So thank you.
We're proud to have you part of our city, Bruce, for all these many years. Did you grow up here? I think you did, didn't you?
No, I'm older than even that.
I won't go any farther than that.
No, I've been here since 1969. So.
Yeah. Okay, Bruce, thanks much. All right. Anybody else on public comment? Okay, I don't see anybody, so we'll close off public comment at this time. We'll take up the minutes, the next agenda item, the minutes of January 18th. Everybody had a chance to read them? Motion's in order.
I move to approve the minutes of the Carson City Board of Supervisors for January 18th, 2018 as presented.
Motion in a couple seconds on the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Carried unanimous. Okay. Any changes to the agenda, Mr.
No change, Mr. Mayor.
Board members, any change?
12B.
We're going to pull 12B.
It's not done. We have more changes that didn't get included.
Okay. I'm told that we want to pull 12B, which is fine. Everybody okay with that? Mm-hmm. All right. It's got to work on that one a little bit more. All right. That makes the day even shorter. Mm-hmm. All right. So with the exception of removing agenda item 12B, unless there are no additional changes, we'll take the agenda as published and move on to the consent agenda. And let me disclose here There are 3 items on the consent agenda that deal with state lands, at least with state lands in Carson City. State Lands is an agency that reports to, is part of Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. My son, who is well of age, is the Director of Conservation and Natural Resources, but he had nothing to do with what we're dealing with here. So I'll be, with that disclosure, I'll be voting on the consent agenda. With that disclosure, anybody else? We'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda as published.
Second.
There's a motion and a second on the motion. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Carried, unanimous. Okay. Let's now move on to item number 11, finance, uncollectibles. Mr. CFO, good morning.
Good morning. Agenda item number 11. Read my notes. For possible action to report, sorry.
We do this about every year.
I know.
Actually, I think the amount of uncollectibles is down. Going
We
down.
do this twice a year.
Twice a year.
This particular time, this is 405,000, almost 406,000. This is up about almost 90,000 from the previous time, and that's primarily related to activity done for people who don't have insurance in the community. So
Why don't you give us a
spike.
little, I mean, I know we do it all the time, but give the public, because we're on, just give the public an idea of what we're doing here and why we're doing it. So.
Sure. This is a write-off of uncollectible receivables for the ambulance service that we provide in the community. We have contractual agreements with various insurance companies, and we bill people for that service. This is the amount of the uncollectibles for the 6-month period, July to December of last year. And so these are amounts that we've deemed uncollectible, and we're asking your permission to write those off.
And we have a collection agency that works on these?
We do. They do our billing, and then anything that they can't collect, we bring before the board.
Okay. And Chief Slayman, I see you're in the audience. I don't know if you're prepared to speak about it this morning, but why don't you give us a little rundown on what we're doing on Medicaid reimbursements or recent things you're doing on trying to get a little additional funds for our ambulance service.
Sure. On the excuse me, on the Medicaid side, there's a federal program called Ground Emergency Medical Transportation, and through Medicare, they reimburse public agencies for ambulance transport above and beyond what the federal rate for transportation is. So basically they set a general amount for ambulance transports nationwide, and then for public agencies such as us who transport, they take a look and audit what our actual charges are, and so we get a reimbursement every year from Medicare. We got it's usually in the rears, obviously, and it's on the federal calendar, so that's the end of year is September 30th for the federal government. For 3 quarters of 2016, that was when it was enacted and we applied. We received $1.2 million in reimbursement, and then we're anticipating a similar amount coming this spring for this past fiscal year, for the fiscal year 17.
And Mr. Link, the uncollectibles we have here are net of, call it net of Medicaid reimbursements?
That is correct.
Okay, all right. Board members, anybody? Public comment? Anybody? I don't see anything. Are we ready for a motion? Motion's in order.
I move to approve the application to remove the uncollectible accounts receivable specified in the application from the records of the ambulance fund for a total amount of $405,753.70 in uncollectible accounts receivable.
There's a motion and a second on the motion. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Carried. My voting machine's not on.
Yeah, mine's not working.
No, none of us is working.
Okay, none of them are working.
None of us can
All
make a
right.
motion or a vote.
Kathy's got us covered.
All right. All right.
No motions.
All right, let's take up item 12. We were talking up here, by the way, about electronic voting. We're trying to get all the kinks worked out on that. Let's
The update didn't work.
take up item 12A. Mr. Schultz, you're going to do this?
Good morning. Darren Schultz, for the record, Public Works. This item 12A before you here today is a resolution. We're asking for an interlocal agreement between Lyon County and Carson City to joint operate a water line that is currently in place. The water line has been in place for over 10 years now, and this is replacing an existing agreement that allowed for both counties to use this water line to use water back and forth. The intent of what we're doing and how we use this particular water line and why we're asking and needing this, it's for operations of our water system. So from time to time, there's a need from one county or the other to ask to bring import water or export water just to keep our system running. To keep it, for instance, in a situation where we have maintenance and we need to take down a major well or something in the northeast side of town, it's an opportunity for us to use Lyon County water to serve our residents while we're doing that maintenance work, and vice versa for Lyon County. So as part of this, there's also Carson City owns water rights in the Lyon County basin, and Lyon County owns water rights in Eagle Valley. So this ability to move that water back and forth as needed, that's what this agreement is covering. What this agreement is not intended to cover is that we would somehow manipulate and add additional water rights to Lyon County that need to stay in Eagle Valley or vice versa from Lyon County. There's been, let me first add that there was some late material on this item trying to clear up a few questions that there's been, and then just in our discussion over the last few days, further clarification is needed. And so what we are proposing to clear that up is a statement that would go under Section 5 under mutual responsibilities. And it would read something like this: the parties agree that any water leased from one party to the other will not be used to specifically support will-serve letters or long-term commitments of the leased water, except through a separate agreement or as an amendment to this agreement. So I would ask that that's the general language that we're looking to try and take care of any fears that there were, and then I would ask that the DA's office be allowed to put that into this agreement under Section 5 mutual responsibilities, and that we would approve that today. Open for questions.
I think we have some questions up here and some comments, so we'll go through them. Supervisor Bunkowski, then Supervisor Barrett.
Darren, just a comment. In the Lyon County Water Master Plan, they have similar language to what you just proposed. So you might touch base with them and look at their language, and if it's sufficient, then it'd probably be easier to get them to agree to it if we just use their language.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Darren, I'm curious as to, first we get late material, and then it's really not quite complete since we have to continue negotiating, if that's the proper word. Could this not have waited for a couple of weeks? Is there a reason we have a deadline that we have to vote in the dark?
No, it's
well,
not.
I'm sorry. Let me amend that. Not in the dark, but not with everything before us. Yes,
I apologize. I really do try to bring these to you complete, and that was my goal this time as well. It's a little bit, when we have these joint agreements, they get heard in one county and they get heard in the other county. And at some point we just have to bring it forward. So the only option here is it was on the agenda. We started receiving these concerns about some of the technicalities of it. And in this case, we thought it okay to continue to move along and modify it as we go. If it's too aggressive, we'll sometimes pull it off the agenda and bring it 2 weeks later. So in this case, we made the call to keep it moving, and so I apologize for the last minute edits.
So, so maybe in discussion, we should then allow the DA's office to conform the changes that are necessary, so not the exact language, because potentially there might be a slight difference of verbiage than in the Lyon County agreement. So is it appropriate that we can do a general direction and then you'll place it in the agreement in the proper place? Because maybe sometimes you fix one thing and then you have to conform something else, so we would do conforming language. And then I also had one other issue. There is a date that indicates we will invoice by December 31st, 2017, and then every December thereafter, and you have 30 days or you're late. So I'd also like to correct the date to not be in non-compliance. So the first one should be 30 days upon approval of the parties, and thereafter every December 31st. So we can fix that language also. Okay.
I appreciate those comments, Lori. I think in this particular case, since we need to get the language approved by Lyon County, I'd prefer to just see it come back.
Okay.
Ditto.
All right. Any public comment on this issue? It's coming back? Okay, let's take up the next item, 12 Bravo then.
No,
That's off. Boy, we're moving right along fast this morning. Okay, let's go to item 13. This is the report of the Historic Resources Commission. You ready for this one? Morning, Mr. Drews. Mr. Plemmel.
Good morning, Lee Plemmel, Community Development Director. You're moving along quick. Hope's probably going to walk in any minute, but we're going to turn it over to the HRC Chair, Mike Drews, anyway, to give this report from the Historic Resource Commission.
Thank you, Lee. Good morning, Mr. Mayor and Board. And for the record, I'm Mike Drews, Chairman of the Historic Resources Commission. As you know, the commission was founded or begun in 1981. We've been doing this for a bit of time now. In 2017, we held 5 meetings, reviewed 41 applications, 25 of which were administratively approved by the chairman. We're down a little from last year's applications, but still moving along well. The administrative approvals work really well. It kind of streamlines the process for those little roofing projects and fencing projects that meet our standards and don't have to take a lot of the public's time to come before us. The administrative approvals are generally things like re-roofing, fencing, minor maintenance projects, garage doors within the district. One of our other accomplishments, which you guys heard in January, was modifying or amending the fence regulations for the district. I want to thank Hope and Dan for their work on that. In March, we selected three properties for our Historic Preservation Awards. They went to Jim Warren for his work on the property at 603 Robinson Street that was in some disrepair for quite a bit of time. Jim and Margaret Giorrietta for their house on Minnesota, and Ken Dorr for all his work on the V&T Railroad. In May, we completed the Historic Resources Scavenger Hunt. I want to thank Luann Spalda-Drews and Greg Hayes for their work on that, and especially Karen for once again giving us a free lunch at Adele's for the winter. In 2017, we applied for a $38,000 grant for the Historic Preservation Fund program. It was to help with work that Convention Bureau was doing on the Blue Line. Unfortunately, the application was not funded by SHPO, but we'll continue applying for those funds and hopefully get some this year. Utilizing some 2016 fund money, Carson City sponsored a camp program that's put on by the National Association of Preservation Commissions here in town. We had April 28th through 29th. We had a two-day a meeting with commissioners from Story County as well as Reno to just get some training on historic districts and how they work, how we can improve things, what other parts of the country are doing with their historic districts. It was a real nice program. It was great to have all of our commissioners there. We had a lot of public involved. A few people from the historic district came and got some information, so that was good. The historic district, since 1987, I think, we've been doing these historic preservation grant programs. To date, we have about $450,000 that we've received for those funds. There's a 40% match, and we usually attain that with staff time, lots of commissioners' time, and it's worked pretty well. We're looking at some other projects for this year. I know Brad's interested in the east side. We're looking at maybe expanding our inventories, and I'd actually like to look at all of Carson City and see what other properties we have that we might want to annex to our district or designate as city's historic resources. So that's about it. Lee or Hope, do you have anything to add?
Mike, just a question I had on the prison. What's the progress as far as that goes?
I read what everybody read in the paper. It sounds like they're getting ready. They've completed their work with State Public Works and are ready to start opening the doors and getting tours in. So hopefully that's going good.
Can somebody, either on the board or wherever, update me on where we are on the blue line, fixing the blue line or whatever we're doing with that? Tell me what's going on with that.
Darren Schultz, Public Works, for the record. The Blue Line Trail project, we had an internal group established, and what came out of that is meeting with the Visitors Bureau. And the Visitors Bureau came up with some ideas about how we could make that better. And what the decision was is that it would be less of a painted on stripe and more of a monument type walk, as well as that an app that you could download on your phone or your device, and there would be recordings that you could listen to at each location. And so they had some money and they were going to get some more money and put that program together. They are taking the lead on it. So in the interim, we are not putting down more blue paint because the plan is to eradicate the existing blue paint in the future and then use this other more modern method of describing the walk.
Thank you, Darren. All right. Anything else, Lee?
No. That concludes the presentation.
Board members? Mike, please pass on to your committee. You know how much we appreciate all the hard work you guys do. Historic designations, as we all know, can be a pain sometimes, but they're also very valuable in terms of maintaining our history in this community. And so, you know, we have to walk a careful balance on that, but your commission, your members do a good job on that. So, and I think John Barrett, Supervisor Barrett's got a comment or question too. So,
yeah, just pardon me, but it occurred to me, for guys like me who aren't quite as tech savvy, if that blue line goes away, what does that do to our map? Are we going to change that, or how does that work? The actual physical map that is involved.
The blue line's not going away. It's just the blue tape on the sidewalk will go away. We'll keep the same route. We'll just have medallions rather than something like the tape blue line, which requires a lot more maintenance. So the route is the same. The map is the same. We could, at some point, if we get more information, we can update properties along the blue line or modify that.
Yeah, he answered great. The idea by going to this new method is it can change in the future. It can be fluid. If a new property wants to be added, we don't have to go and erase blue paint and do a zigzag, you can just add it into the program, add a monument, and reprint a map. It's much easier. So that was one of the goals behind going this new direction.
Yeah, I'm sorry for the question. I'm just an old follow the breadcrumbs kind of guy.
Thank you for your support.
You bet, Michael. Okay, thanks. All right. Well, I think we do a motion on this one. Yeah. Motion's in order. Supervisor Bagwell.
I move to accept the 2017 Historic Resources Commission Annual Report as presented.
There's a motion and a second on the motion discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. There we go. Did you get yours, Brad?
Yeah.
All right, we'll see if it comes up. All right, worked. Okay, we're back in the electronics, the tech age, John, so here we are.
Yeah, now I'm in trouble.
All right, we'll go to item number 14 then on Board of Supervisors non-action items, future agenda items. We do have a board retreat coming up on Monday, so we can have kind of a discussion on a number of issues there. So anything else the board needs to report? Anybody? Okay, all right. Let's go then to concluding public comment on the board. Anybody? And it's a short agenda today because, you know, one of the reasons why it's short is the district attorney's putting on a symposium over at the legislature, and I think we all kind of want to ink in and weigh in on, or just take in some of that symposium as well. So unless there's an unless there's an objection, or without objection, we will adjourn as the Board of Supervisors and will reconvene now as the Liquor and Entertainment Board, and the record will reflect that we have all the members of the Liquor and Entertainment Board here, including the sheriff. Okay. All right. Go.
Okay, good morning again. Lee Plemmel, Community Development Director. This item is just for discussion only. It is per the code. It's an annual.
Actually, let me back up here and take care of the minutes first. Yep. I jumped ahead of you there. Yep. On the minutes of May 18th, it's a long time ago. Everybody had a chance to review and rehearse and rehash what we did on May 18th? Mm-hmm. Okay, motion's in order.
Move to approve the minutes of the Carson City Liquor and Entertainment Board for May 18th, 2017 is presented.
Second.
There's a motion and a second on a motion discussion. Let me just say that, you know, one of the reasons why we don't do it is because we now have a hearing officer doing a lot of these things. So, all right. On a motion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Carried. Thank you. All right, now Lee will take up item 20, your report from as the hearings officer.
Thank you. Again, Lee Plemmel, Community Development Director. I also serve as the board's appointed liquor hearings officer. Per code, we give an annual report to the board on the activities of enforcement and now with the new process of the administrative hearing, liquor licenses issued. So as you know, in mid-early-ish 2017, we adopted a new ordinance. The board adopted a new ordinance to assign the approval of liquor licenses to a hearings officer. So that's been an administrative process, and we conduct it right next to the business license counter. In the report there, you can see since June when we've implemented this, there's been 14 liquor licenses come before the hearings officer that haven't come to you. And it ranges from the new businesses, new managers to changing liquor managers and all of those things that previously had to come here. We've received a lot of positive feedback, certainly, from that, of not having the extra time of coming here. We get them in and out fairly quickly. They're right next to the business license counter, so once they get approval from us, they can take care of all their business there, pay their fees, and walk out of the building with their liquor license. So that's been a positive, and we've gotten some positive feedback from the businesses doing it that way. I'll note that I make sure, one of the things that I've heard through the years from this liquor board is stressing the importance of not serving to minors and going through the server training. So, I just want to pass along, if you see the minutes of those, that at every meeting, I make sure to stress the importance of that to every licensee that's coming through, passing that on from the Board of Supervisors, the importance of that to the community. So also, and you see the list of all the different different businesses that have come in for the liquor license, the type of liquors. I won't go into each one. Moving on to alcohol compliance checks, this is the other part of the report we give you each month. Of course, the compliance checks are coordinated through the sheriff's office. In 2017, there were two checks, not two businesses, but 2 nights when they went out to do the compliance checks and hit the businesses. That resulted in a total of 4 first citations, so nobody got to a second citation. There was 2 first citations on each one of those stings. And so there were no second or third offenses, and it takes a third offense before it gets to the hearings officer. And I would note that you did change also the code that went from, it's a third offense within 12 months now and not 6 months. So we still have that, and yet none of them have got to the second or third offenses yet, but third offenses would come to the hearings officer and have additional penalties and possibly suspensions. That concludes my report. I'd be happy to answer questions.
Okay, we'll take public comment. I know we have public comment at the beginning and the end. We only have one item, and does anybody want to address this report or anything to do with the Liquor and Entertainment Board or anything that you want to do? And did I close out public comment on the last, ask for concluding public comment? Okay, all right. Just want to make sure everybody's got a chance to speak today. Anybody? I don't see any. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, just one announcement. For the public at large, the district attorney is hosting a youth and family symposium today. Requested that board members, if they choose to, would be available for that. I just want to announce that's why this board meeting is uncharacteristically short. I don't think we're going to pay a price on February 15th either. That doesn't look like it's going to be a brutal agenda. But the DA did ask that if the board members would like to attend, it is at the Legislative Council Bureau, which is 401 South Carson Street. Started just a couple of minutes ago. So if you are available and you're interested, it would be it'd be something that the DA would certainly like to see you there. Finally, Mr. Mayor, members of the board, you know I grew up in Philly. I've been a long-suffering Philadelphia Eagles fan my whole life. However, I believe my salvation is at hand. I believe that we will finally reach the promised land on Sunday. And I ask your support and prayers to that end. Thank you.
Did you put money down to back that up?
Actually, I did.
You want to make sure that there's no those softballs or whatever they are, those deflated ball, deflate gate.
No deflate gate.
All right. Brady will do his thing and Eagles will do theirs. Okay. All right. Any concluding public comment on anything? Anything? I don't see any. So are we ready then to adjourn? All right, then unless there's an objection, we will adjourn, and hopefully we can all make the trek over. What room is that in? Is that, Dan, is that in 4100 or in fourth?
Stand by, Mr. Mayor.
Or
room 1214, 1214.
Okay, that's on the ground floor. Okay. All right, let's see if we can all get over there. Unless there's an objection, then we'll be stand adjourned.